this happens in all leadership. I see it in churches, I see it in businesses, I see it in nonprofits. It's basically the people on top have a certain lens. They value certain things, and therefore they kind of, not meaning to, but they basically project that on other people. So that was the 7 archetypes. Now let's talk about how you guys stacked up with this test. So I'm going to talk about each of you individually, and then I'm going to talk about you guys as an aggregate, and then we'll start getting into the weeds here. All right, doing great. All right, so Becca, you scored from top to bottom: panther, meerkat, bear, eagle, jungle bird, sheepdog, and wildebeest. So congratulations, you're not a bad worker. Yes, so very, very high concentration. Panther was 36%, meerkat was 20%. And Jesse, you're actually very similar. You're meerkat, panther, jungle bird, eagle, bear, sheepdog, and again, wildebeest. So you had 0% sheepdog, 0% wildebeest. So you don't care about security at all, apparently.
Good thing.
You're just playing fast and loose and gambling with your life at all very high. So very high meerkat, 31%, very high panther, 27%. So if we were to draw from some pop culture, who the people, since you're both panther meerkats, your top 2 animals is your profile, you guys would be this. You'd be a little combination of Don Draper as a panther, little combination of Michael Scott. So Don Draper.
Is Michael Scott.
you're both of them. So
congratulations. We're both that. I'm prison. Yeah. Prison Mike though.
I am in a skate street.
Don Draper is very independent, moving forward, getting things done, high risk, high reward. And Michael Scott, it's all about the people around him. He'll make him do silly meetings just because he wants people to be in the same room and listening to his voice. So it's fun. All right, so moving on to Evan, who's your other employee. So Evan is very comparable to you guys, but a little different. So his score was eagle, meerkat, jungle bird, sheepdog, panther, bear, wildebeest. So congratulations. There is 0% wildebeest amongst all 3 of you. You win. You definitely have the meerkat in common with him, but he's an eagle. He's very low on panther. And so if I were to take the eagle meerkat combination, I was using these 2 as a reference point in pop culture. So we have Leslie Knope from Parks and Rec.
You know what this is, Ron? This is a mix I made for the Summer Parks Barbecue 2007. I asked everyone in the Parks Department to choose one song. You chose Buddy by Willie Nelson. A fact I remember because my mind is a steel trap of friendship nuggets.
And then we have Kenneth the Page from
No, he's definitely Kenneth the Page.
Yeah. Good for you. That's a good combination to have. Right.
Yo, I need you to grab me some lunch.
Absolutely. What can I get for you?
I want nachos.
Yes, sir.
From Yankee Stadium.
Yes, sir. Oh, no. I will not let you down, sir.
All right, then let's look at your scores as an aggregate. Who is Modern Vintage as an aggregate? So you're definitely a panther meerkat combo, and then next in order would be jungle bird, eagle, sheepdog, bear, and wildebeest. So very interesting. So based on those scores, let's talk about how does that make you feel? Do you feel like that's an accurate overall view of the 3 of you?
Yeah, I think so.
I think so. We laughed really hard when we found out our scores were the same animals, just opposite.
Yeah.
We're like, that tracks.
Because we really are just sharing one brain
Mm-hmm.
that we're splitting between the 2 of us.
Uh-huh.
Well, we were in cleaning our birds and we heard this big bang. We said, oh no, another car accident. So we dropped everything and we went running out the front. We seen Mum running out from the house up there, and then other cars were pulling up and checking to see if the person was okay. And one guy, he was up there with our mum.
Yeah, that's very obvious. That's really cool. So let's talk about that then. So let's talk about because you're both meerkat panthers. You're both very independent. You guys can handle a high threshold of stress and risk, according to the score anyway. But you're both very relational and need need interaction with people in order to kind of feel like you're getting what you need out of work. That's the broad brush from the score. Is that accurate of you both?
I think so. Yeah.
Mm.
I mean, like, the relationships that we form with our clients are so important to be able to do what we do. We really truly do need to like get to know our clients, who they are as people, what they value, and what they value in life, and like what their goals are, and that really drives like how we plan and design for them,
Yeah.
whether it's weddings or corporate.
So let's talk about this then. So kind of think solely in terms of the meerkat, and we'll talk about the panther later. So meerkat, everything we do at work is crediting or debiting these life coins. So in Vivenomics speech, the meerkat, what they're valuing most is well-being through harmonious interaction with people around them. So let's talk about like what part of the job debits that. Like what part of the job is challenging. And
Can I answer for Becca?
Yeah, sure.
Can I answer for you, Becca?
Yeah, then I'll answer for you.
Okay,
Oh,
perfect.
cool.
Yes.
This is awesome.
Tracking time.
Yeah.
Oh, well, oh my
Tracking
gosh.
hours.
Don't make me do that.
Tracking time.
Yeah.
But you think that's relationship based?
Okay,
Well,
no.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if that is a debit, then that's a debit. So this tracking time is
It is a
challenging.
Yeah. Okay.
I think for like something relationship based that can be really hard is if something goes wrong with a vendor, because we also really value our vendor relationships. And so there you have hundreds of humans making this day happen or making this event happen. And it can be really hard when something goes wrong to turn around and say, hey, this was not great. Or on the flip side, for someone to say that to us too, because we're not going to do something perfect. So the like dealing with something going sideways. And then the same thing with clients, because we've had sometimes clients that we don't immediately pick up on the fact that they are more type A than we thought, and we're not checking in with them enough, or we're not sending them the deadlines enough. And it can, the hard part can be figuring that out together and having someone come back to you and say, I need more from you than what I'm getting.
Yeah.
Right. Do you find that compared to other peers, because you do network a lot with other planners and stuff, like compared to other peers, do you find that those clashes either with vendors or with clients, do you find that weighs on you more than it might others? Like does it carry a lot of weight, or do you?
I don't know. Well, Jessica Pinson will overthink. If she's got to send an email that is remotely negative, she will overthink it. She will text about it. She will send it. Does this sound okay? She will run it through ChatGPT.
I will write it 17 times, and I'll add exclamation points and smiley faces, and then I'll take them back out. And then
Yes.
I see.
I don't like conflict.
So I do think it does sometimes, because we don't want to go and have a negative experience with somebody and leave that experience negative. As you know, Josh, I'm a little less like that on actual event day than Jesse is.
We have stories. Yes.
we switch good cop and bad cop from planning phase to execution phase.
Yes. Yeah, I'm just kind of wondering. Well, because the stereotypical panther is, on the hunt. Is just moving forward, like just you go to the next thing. They can handle a high threshold of stress. So it's a weird combination to have like the harmony seeking, camaraderie seeking meerkat with this very independent panther aspect. Do you find? Does that resonate with you in terms of your experience?
I think that as a planner, that's sort of like almost the perfect job for us, because it's so relational. You are bringing people together to gather, but you're also in a very high stakes, high stress job, because if something goes wrong with anybody, any vendor, anything on the day, we are the ones who are held accountable by our clients for that. And so you are in this, like, we want to make this the best event we can. And there is a lot riding on this, whether it's for a wedding or for a company. So you are dealing with a lot of stress and a lot of moving parts at the same time, but you're doing it all for that celebration and that gathering together and that relational piece of it for people.
We're all working towards that high you get at the end.
Yeah.
When you see it all come together and you see how happy it made everybody and what an amazing time it is for everybody. So
yeah, because I track a lot of numbers in our industry, and things are very seasonal. They're seasonal, obviously, in terms of volume of work, but also in terms of volume of inquiries. So I'm sure you guys go through some valleys and peaks. Like, how does that, as a Panther, how does that play out? Like having those potential seasonal droughts of like people are not answering emails and I'm not getting any inquiries, or how does that play out in your?
I have literally already sent Jesse a whole list of diversification ideas because our inquiries are actually a little down right now for 2026.
Yeah.
And the Panther part of me was already like, I couldn't stop thinking about them. So I put it all on a Google Doc and I'm like, here are the ways that we can diversify. Here are the things that ChatGPT suggests that we can do to diversify. Here is what I don't want to do from this list. And here's what excites me from this list. So it like gets your, for me, it gets the wheels thinking of like, okay, what's next? What exciting things have we been ignoring? It's our TikTok. It's coming.
I need to do TikTok. I'm not there yet. I'm just, I'm just barely hanging on to. I'm adding LinkedIn and for Vivenomics, not for
That's
Jay
smart.
Jackson.
Yeah,
and it's exhausting. I'm not a fan, but it's what they are. So
yep.
I am the one. It's funny because I feel like I'm the opposite of this in my personal life, but I am the one that is a little bit more risk averse in the business. And so I have to fully, I have to sit down and really marinate. So Becca just this whole list and she was like, here's all these things we could do, and I'm like, okay, I need to take some time with them. I need to think about them. And then we got to talk about them. We got to I move a little bit slower in that respect.
And so it seems like a pretty good match. Like even the way you organize your company, that one person at the top, and then you have people in different departments. You have two people running it, which is very relational, which kind of fits that makes a lot of sense. Attention all small business owners, hiring managers, and HR directors. Vivenomics is your resource for everything you need to attract and hire and keep the best talent for your company and your team. Be sure to like this episode and subscribe to get even more resources for your company. Also, check out the links in the description below. They include a free VPS quiz for you and your team to take, as well as a quick and easy form you can fill out so you can join us on this live stream and get a free assessment for your company. And now, back to the episode. Let's pivot to talking about Evan. So tell me a little more about Evan and his kind of what makes him tip. And does this score, match his score? Or match the experience you have with him, I should say?
100%, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. Evan is our permanent employee of the month.
He is. We say that all the time, that he is our permanent employee of the month.
What's his role? Because I know you have other people that jump in from time to time, but he's a permanent guy. So what does he do?
Okay, he's consistently there with us on event days. So he is always an assistant who knows the way that our business runs, because in the past he has helped us with some of the things on the back end of the business, like emails and reaching out to clients and reaching out to vendors. So he understands the way we run our business, but we at the moment don't need 3 people full time in house. So he is kind of he's always our on-site. And as on-site, he is the person who hangs something should we find out something needs to get hung. Yeah. He's the person who's going to climb up on a ladder and look at something. He always has full of random stuff. If we need a glass case picked up in Madison and we need somebody to put blinky lights in it, he's the one. Evan is kind of like, with any random thing that comes up,
he's the guy that you can count on. He's just whatever weird harebrained thing that we need, because it's just you can plan for these events for a year and a half or 2 years. There's gonna be something that you didn't anticipate when it comes to GF. Always. never failing. And so he's the person, like, before he even shows up for the day is already texting us like, where do I need to stop? What random thing do you need me to go get before you come in?
All right. So him being an eagle. So I have an eagle. You guys might know Paige. I have an eagle panther in Paige. And what I find really fascinating about eagles, because I'm not an eagle. I'm actually a panther bear, which is kind of funny to have in a founder. They do a lot of extra work without being asked to do it. Stereotypically, a sheepdog or a bear, like, you have to tell them what to do. So I have a sheepdog in my team, and basically they will do exactly what you tell them to do, but nothing else. So it's like coding in a computer. It's like it only does what you told it to do. It won't intuit, hey, should I do this? But I find like an eagle or a panther who's very independent thinking will notice and they'll just do things that being asked to. Do you find that to be? It sounds like that's the case with Evan.
Yeah,
it is. Yes,
definitely.
Yeah. So that's really so. What I've learned with eagles in particular is they're so self-motivated and they have such a high threshold for stress and such a high threshold for work that they will keep going until they die.
Why don't I tell you what my greatest weaknesses are? I work too hard, I care too much, and sometimes I can be too invested in my job.
And
that sounds right.
If you're not an ethical boss, you will let them go until they die. And I've seen this happen with a lot of people where basically like I gave and gave and gave and I never got back from my boss. And now you see with the VPS, who you are is not static. It's not like Myers-Briggs or Enneagram where it's like, this is your core motivation. It's like, it's basically this is what you want out of work, and what you want out of work changes with seasons of life, And so eagles can become bears. They can become wildebeest. And so I've learned, like, make sure that you're taking care of them because they will burn out. That's my experience. So, all right, interesting. So let's go ahead and actually take these numbers and apply. So let's think about in terms of Modern Vintage as an organization. If you were to grow, if you were to add to your team, given what your personality as a whole is and your personality individually is, we're talking about, for example, timekeeping is being a challenge, more administrative stuff. Like, if you could hire another full-time person, what kind of pain points do you have in the organization that you'd like to replace? So I'm sorry, I keep talking. Before you answer that, I'll give you a chance to collect your thoughts. Every organization is basically three things. It's finance. How do you pay for stuff? How do I get money? It's sales and marketing, and it's operations, actually doing the thing that you said you would do. In my case, like, I'm very competent in the bean counting, in the marketing, and the sales. I've just learned over time that my bartenders are better bartenders than I'll ever be. And so it's like letting them take over operations has been what's freed me up. If you're to narrow it down by category, sales, marketing, finance, operations, what kind of column would you like to delegate to next if you could?
Finance. Yes. That is something that Jesse does currently, but neither one of us have a great aptitude toward the financial part of it. And not even the, like, how do we structure the finances, just the everyday
day-to-day bookkeeping and things like that. And that's something that we'd really like to hand off and free up that time.
Yeah, totally.
That would allow us to focus on just a lot of other things. And then after that, maybe some social media.
Yes, because that part, while that part is fun, it's not something that comes, like, making reels and making those things is not something that just I can fly through. And so it takes a lot of time. And it's a lot of time investment for what feels like a minimal return.
Yes.
1,000%.
Like, those two things are the things that, like, if we could shove those off of our plates and just let us focus on the things that we love to do for our clients, it would feel amazing.
Because even with that, like, we love our brand voice. So if it was just like, we could blog and we can think about our marketing and we can think about how we're going to do our brand voice and the actual doing of that.
Yeah. 1,000%. If I could never open up Instagram again, I'd be very happy. So I 100% understand that. So So given your aggregate personality as a company, you're very independent people. You're very hardworking. You're very relational. I imagine the three of you, Evan, and are very relational together. You're probably a lot of fun
Yes.
together. So if you were to hire like a bookkeeper, administrator, actually in-house, let's think a little bit about where you guys are strong and the coins you value, and then what someone else would value. So thinking about, for example, you guys are Panthers. You guys can handle a lot of risk. You want to see a direct reward tied to your effort. I work hard, I make more money. I work less, I make less money. Versus someone who's like an hourly employee. So looking back at the coins, what someone else would value in, say, a bookkeeping situation would be different from someone that would value in a sales position, because you guys are in sales. So what they probably want more of would be more stability, more security, less surprises. So the trick then will be learning how to create a compensation plan that gives them what they want. So people in bookkeeping, stereotypically, people who skew jungle bird, they skew sheepdog, they skew bear, and these are like the exact opposite of you guys. So then the challenge would then become, this happens in all leadership. I see it in churches, I see it in businesses, I see it in nonprofits. It's basically the people on top have a certain lens. They value certain things, and therefore they kind of, not meaning to, but they basically project that onto other people. So what they find stressful, they assume everyone else finds stressful. What they find rewarding, they assume everyone else finds rewarding. So sitting in an office all day in front of a computer screen and not talking to anyone might sound like hell to you. It might sound like a perfect job to somebody else. So that's the challenge of that. And then social media, it's all about like the craft. So you guys are like middle. You guys score middle jungle bird, low to mid. I'd imagine somebody in a jungle bird setting who loves social media would be the one to attract. And so the challenge then becomes, how do we attract someone with the compensation plan where they get to really spread their wings, so to speak, and enjoy the craft of SEO and timing the posts just so, and how to tag and what to tag, and so what are your thoughts on that? Like how could you foresee there being a challenge with the way you guys do things versus the kind of person you might need in those roles?
I can say with like somebody that would be doing the books, and like with those characteristics that you were saying, like they want like very, very clear instructions. They want like a line item list of this is how it's done. Like that. That is not our strongest suit.
That is not our strongest
something that maybe we need to try to improve on if we were to bring somebody in. But like we are that, like being able to give somebody like a step-by-step, like this is exactly the way it's done and how I want you to do it, and everything like being very clear, without as much room for a little autonomy or something like that.
When it comes naturally to us.
Yeah, totally. That makes a lot of sense, because it's like you guys are masters in the realm of like relational skills, creative skills. Obviously you have systems because you have checklists and that kind of thing, and you have Evan who like fills in the gaps and like definitely steps in. But like bookkeeping is like it's a science.
It's a box that you like fit in.
Yeah, don't want to play jazz with your bookkeeping.
Right.
Yeah, that's really funny. So yeah, that is a challenge. I'm a Panther, so we all score high in Panthers, all of us. And so like what we can handle a lot of risk, we can handle a lot of uncertainty, but people in social media, people in bookkeeping, not so much. And so learning how to create compensation plans and models that actually attract them but keep them. So yeah. That's cool.